Are you getting the most out of the time you spend working on your face with devices? Would you like to know a faster way to get that done? Stay tuned. I'm going to show you a way to remain consistent in the summer and use all your devices, or most of them, without overworking your face. That's coming up next. Welcome back. Christine Byer here, licensed esthetician for 22 years, and look at this. Yay. On this channel, we talk about your skincare journey because it's never one thing that makes your face look better. It's always a combination of things. So this month, we're talking about keeping it simple, but yet still staying consistent. This includes skincare and devices, but in this video, I wanted to show you about how I would do devices when I'm in a hurry. And this is just the Hevitox exfoliating pad. I love these. Part of a kit. And it has poly and alpha hydroxy acids, and it's very gentle. So yeah, say you've got a bunch of devices and you just never use them, and you'd really like to build some consistency into your program, or it's the summer. Who wants to be working on their face in the summer? What I would do is microdose devices. It's a nice way to stay consistent. There's some down here. All right, so I got some nice switch on there. Okay, so you can just start out with a little bit of, you can start out with LED. I am going to do that later. You can also divide up your treatment. This is where I collect a lot of lymph, and so I'll use the backbone of this Anma to just kind of start pushing some lymph back to the lymph node area where it can be collected and moved away. Now I don't have anything on my skin right now for slip and glide, so you have to do this lightly, but lymph is pretty superficial, so you don't have to press really hard, and that's what I'm doing. It's just a little bit of lymph drainage right now. Okay, and so you'll want to grab 2 or 3 devices for this, and you could even grab 4 or 5 if you wanted, because we're really only going to do them just a couple minutes each. But it's almost like HIIT training for your face, because when we combine modalities, it's almost like when we combine alpha hydroxy acids or we combine vitamins, they all work better synergistically. So this is what we're going to do for our face with our devices. So how's everybody's summer going? I'm just using a little bit of the Hydrolift conductive gel and mask. I think I'm going to use the Curve first, which is for face and body. It's a big old device, the big device head from German designed. So this is made to be used 15 minutes on each body part twice a week, but we, for this purposes, are just going to use it for about 2 minutes on the lower face and neck area, because this blows out lymph like nobody's business, and it gets the face warmed up for what we're going to do next. I just like to use it on mode 3, level 3 for this. So I have this way of going up and down. You can come up here too if you like, but I'll be using other devices there. Just like to scoop out all this lymph. There's a timer on here too. I could just pay attention to that, but this way I don't have to. I can just jab, jibber jabber. This really does a great job of cleaning out this lymph in this area, and this area collects it. So what did you guys do this weekend? It's summer, officially summer. Pools are open. Last week I went to the dunes with my daughter, and I didn't know that people usually wait. Well, I guess people do go to the dunes right now, but the water is so flipping cold because it's Lake Michigan. I have a hard time getting in. I lived in Miami for 10 years. I'm from here, from Indiana, but after living in Miami for 10 years, you're like, the water there is like bath water in the summer, so you're like, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, so that was an interesting trip. I had never been to the dunes. It's very pretty. And it's about 2.5 hours from my house here north of Indianapolis. And I took my daughter. It was a mom and daughter trip, and that was nice. She actually talked to me all the ride up and all the ride down. She wasn't on her iPad, which is very nice for a 12-year-old. Yeah, we stayed at the Hilton Garden Inn in Chesterton, Indiana, and it was it was fine. It's not a bad hotel. No, it's not 5 stars or anything, but there are no 5-star hotels up there that I know of. You'll have to let me know in the comments if you know of any along the dunes there. And we did climb a dune, and it was quite a workout. My legs cramped up that night. So just cleaning out that lymph. So here, because I have the Anma, the Curve, the Time Master Pro, and the Mini, and then the Eye Rejuvenator, since those are both microcurrent, I'm going to do microcurrent last. And I like to do microcurrent last because that leaves the muscles retrained and up there, taut, right? You don't want to go in and relax them afterwards. Like you wouldn't want to go in back in with the Anma and relax everything again. So now I'm just using 2 Time Master Pros. This is ultrasound and EMS, electric muscle stimulation. So it's going to give me a lift, but in a totally different way that the microcurrent does. This one's a little spicy, you feel it. It also has very low frequency ultrasound, which I love, and that plumps the skin so nicely. It also helps with any breakouts. It oxygenates the skin. It increases cell-to-cell communication, cellular turnover. Ultrasound is, the skin loves ultrasound. All right. Yeah, so that trip was fun, except for one morning I went over to CVS, and I put this up. I shared this on social, and I couldn't get Sienna to cooperate and get dressed and come with me. So I just left. I left her in the hotel room, and I said, I'll be back. And I was kind of trying to calm down and just relax. And I had a coupon I needed to use there. And during the pandemic, there's a CVS just 2 blocks from here, and I was there all the time. It was my sanity break. It's how I stayed sane during the pandemic. And I just really got addicted to drugstore makeup. I mean, not that I don't buy any high end, it's just that drugstore makeup has come so far. So, and this particular CVS up there in Chesterton was brand new. It was fantastic. They had like every brand I'd ever seen in every single CVS, but like in one CVS, and it was fully stocked because you could tell it was just new, and the place was busy. This is like, whoa, this place is awesome. And so I'm just putzing around, and all of a sudden the display about 6 feet away from me, maybe not even that far, it just explodes. It sounded like a bomb went off. And from top to bottom, everything flew off that shelf, and it was the Revlon shelf. And I don't buy a lot of stuff from Revlon, but thank goodness. And I was like, what just happened? And I, because I am a survival of childhood sexual abuse, incest, the first place my mind goes is, I didn't do it, guilt. And I heard the front lady, the front desk lady, or the front checkout area, she's like, call 911, call 911. I was like, what? The shelf just fell, right? Because I thought it was overstocked. And it turned out some lady had, instead of pressing the brake, pressed the gas, and they didn't have those little bumpers to keep people from driving into the building. And a lady had just come clear through, almost clear through. You could see the insulation. And I'll show you a picture here. She had come straight through the wall. She tried to press the brake and press the gas and was talking to her friend, and just blew through the wall of the CVS. And I was like, whoa. And if you look at CVS's, I don't know, I'm like, I gotta go back into CVS. I gotta get back on the horse, because I'm like, I don't want to have PTSD over that and not go back in, because it's like, it's just how I calm myself down. I just get lost in makeup, and that is the reason I got my skincare license because I wanted to be official. I wanted to have a license to be able to touch people and do their makeup and stuff. And so I've always loved makeup. Yeah, so that's my zone. I was just in shock. So yeah, they don't, like one I went to yesterday, it had the bumpers, the little concrete blocks so the cars couldn't run past it and run into the building. But the makeup is always up along the parking lot. And I'm like, why? Now I'm just keeping a lookout, making sure they have the bumpers. And this one I went to yesterday, I had to drop off my laundry for my shop here because I'm really low on towels and stuff. And I dropped it off, and they had a sidewalk, so it went up, and bumpers. So I was like, whew. And then I parked my car in one of the slots. So like, it didn't look, I mean, I was like, okay, that's nothing to be freaked out over. But I had a total delayed response. I cried a little bit when I got home because it was just terrifying. I mean, you don't realize things don't settle in until your adrenaline stops rushing. And I showed my daughter. She's like, Mommy, I'm so glad you weren't hurt. And I was kind of shocked that she reacted like that because she'd been such a poop earlier. She was just being a brat. All right, so you can do your next device for 2 minutes and then move on. And this is just switches it up, and the skin's not knowing. The skin likes variety, as does the body, with your vitamins and your diet. Like some variety in your diet. I wouldn't go too crazy. Some people I know have tender tummies. But yeah, the body likes variety, just like we do. Now I'm going faster than normal with these guys. And I'm only really doing vectors. As long as you use two to three devices. So yeah, that was my trip. We did go to the beach, and that was nice. I didn't get a lot of sun because you guys see how I cloak up and all the sunscreen I wear. I used the Dr. Estee Mild, and that worked really well. And then on my face, I had the House of PLLA SPF, the Sculpta Sun Cushion, SPF 50+++. And that gives me some color. Yeah, it's tinted, and then it's blurring, which I love. Tinted and blurring, can't beat that. And then Sienna covered her entire body in sand and then wanted to get in my car. I was like, Sienna? So yeah, I also discovered that I've been battling with myself. I do share it once in a while. I think I share it more often than not. About the sexual abuse as a toddler, and that came to a head, handled and dealt with last year, I think, in December. So I have been in therapy and working on myself a lot, to get mentally healthy, because that complex PTSD, it will mess with your mind. And because of this, I went back to Al-Anon. And Al-Anon is a 12-step group for friends and family members of alcoholics. And my dad was definitely an alcoholic. Not the falling down drunk kind, but he was definitely. So, this is the eye Rejuvenator. And this is a short time period anyway. It's 90 seconds each eye. So I started going back to Al-Anon, and I found Al-Anon when I was 29. I was living in Miami, didn't have very good health insurance. It didn't include any mental health insurance. And so I started going to these meetings, and then lo and behold, I made all these friends, and I had a really good support network, and it was great. Miami and South Beach, there's tons of meetings, and I would skate and bicycle to the meetings. It was great. I mean, it was a whole thing. And so when I started going back to meetings here in Indiana, I was just having these flashbacks to being 30, being in my 30s, all the transformation that happened. Well, I need to stay on one eye until this goes off. This is microcurrent. And so I was like comparing and despairing, I guess, at a deep level. At my last meeting, I was like crying, and I was like, what is going on? And then I realized that I am not that 30-year-old anymore. It was just like, I don't know why. It's like intellectually, I know you need to make sure that you're holding on to this little conductive bar too. Intellectually, I know I'm not in my 30s anymore. Obviously, I'm 53. It was just something I was having an internal battle with and didn't even know, and was making me, as they say in the program, irritable, restless, and discontent. I am not that person anymore. I certainly don't have her skin or her fat pads in her face. And I'm totally different emotionally too. I think that's what was making it really scary, because I'm like, I had tools back then, but I was just learning. Like, I'm a different person now. I'm more mature. I have more stability. I can handle this complex PTSD. I can handle dealing with the sexual abuse now. So it was reassuring, but I cried a lot at that meeting. I've been going to church too, and I'm like crying at church. I'm like crying and crying and crying. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's got to come out, up and out, right? Just up and out. Crying, there's nothing wrong with crying. Just get it up and out. All right, so I just did 4 devices, and that was, 10 minutes, 12, 15 minutes. So it keeps it exciting, and it keeps your skin guessing. Always want to end with microcurrent, like I said, but otherwise your skin keeps it, it's on its toes. And so this is a way you can stay consistent, not get bored, and still have the best workout for your face. So thanks for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye now.